there, how are you doing? Thank you so much for stopping by. Yes, your eyes do not deceive you. This is a third video in a week. What's going on? Yes, I am back with another video courtesy of the lovely Kalifa Confidential, and I'll just go into that a bit more in a second. I just want to thank you for watching my videos. Thank you to everybody who watches, who comments. Really appreciate it. I love the interaction. I love communicating with you guys, and just seeing your comments and everything really makes my day, so thank you for that. Yesterday I did a video and I asked for anyone watching to leave a comment as to what they'd like me to speak about next, and Kalifa Confidential sent me this message. I'm just going to read it off my laptop. Okay, and she said this: I love your enthusiasm, thank you. I'm also interested in acting, but my age was never an issue for me. It has always been my height. I have walked into auditions and been rejected immediately because I'm powerful looking, in quotes. They want an ingenue, which is somebody who's like not quite a waif, but someone who looks a bit innocent and a bit clueless, you know, wide-eyed and all that. And I'm definitely not physically representative of that. This is well said, referring to my video. Right on time. I would love for you to talk about how to develop confidence in acting and in life. I have certainly learned a great deal from you. I would like you to teach me about how you developed your courage. Is courage inherent to your Igbo tribe? So thank you for that lovely comment, and thank you for your questions. I massively appreciate it. So what I'm going to do with your question is I'm going to divide it into two videos. Today I'm going to talk about confidence in acting, or how I develop confidence in acting and my outlook with regards to acting. And on another video, I'll do about how I developed confidence in life in general, okay? So once again, thank you for your question. I really appreciate it. Okay, so how did I develop my confidence in acting? Well, my firmest foundation for it comes from all the feedback I got after my audition and when we went for the induction day. When I went to my audition, I had never auditioned for anything before in my life. And I had always shied away from things like that because I don't like competitive sports or anything that's competitive. I just don't like. I'm just not that way inclined naturally. So I find that if I can't naturally do something and really just be successful in my own lane, I don't want to do. I don't want to have to compete to be the best. Do you know what I mean? I'm just not that way inclined. And so I went to the audition, was successful, and on the orientation day, or whatever it is they call it, that Femi, who is the founder, who's the principal, he said this. He says he tells his tutors to withhold praise. This is what he was saying. He goes, because the reality is in the industry, you're not going to be patted on the back every 5 minutes for every job well done. You're not going to get that. So he didn't want to create a culture now that isn't going to be sustained later on. And he simply said to us, this much I will tell you. If you saw the thousands of people who auditioned to get into this school and we had to turn away, you will see and know that we saw something in you. Let that be enough for you. And I took that to heart. I really did take that to heart. So they saw something in me and they chose me to come and be trained at their school. So that's primarily where my confidence in acting comes from. Second, I was put into an intermediate group when I thought I'd be in the beginner group. And then I remember on the orientation as well, they also said that if you're in your group, you seldom go up. Do you know what I mean? Like after the first year, at least, you don't really go up. So after you've done your first year and you have your showcase, you'll typically pretty much be in the same class you were in because people don't go up, right? So when my group, my intermediate group, we performed our showcase, he says it was the first time since setting up the school that pretty much everybody went up one level, at least a level. So that, again, inspired me, gave me confidence to know that I am an actress. I have got what it takes to be a good actress. So I went up to, I was in intermediate, I'm in advanced. Some people went up to semi-pro. I think others went up to pro, whatever. But everybody moved up at least one level, which is unheard of, apparently, in the school. So that's where my confidence comes from with regards to that. Now, with regards to going forth in a career, one thing I tend to do a lot, I tend to watch a lot of people's interviews. I read a lot. I just really have a time where I'm really focusing on something. At the time when I was watching all these things, reading all these interviews, I didn't know that later on I would want to enter into the industry. But all of the things that I've read and all the things I've come across have really stood me in good stead for this moment right here. you and I both have something common. We're both tall black women, and as such, we're never going to be considered for roles where it requires sensitivity, or they want the character to be multifaceted, or the love interest. The reality is we are not going to be thought of for those roles, right? And I remember, because I've signed up with a number of background agencies, okay, to be a background artiste. So for those of you who don't know, like, you know, on film sets, you know, there's people that walk around in the background, they don't necessarily have any major part, they don't have any lines, just in the background. That's what I signed up for, because I wanted to get the experience of being on a film set. And the first day I did that, and I set foot on the film set, I knew immediately this is what I wanted to do. It was like a light went off in my head. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I need to train for. I also knew on that very day, the very first day I ever set foot on a film set, that I wanted to learn lines. I didn't just want to be milling around in the background. I wanted to be doing something intelligent. I wanted to do something that would tax me, that would challenge me. And the only way I need to do that was to go to acting school. So eventually I went to acting school. But that wasn't the only reason why. I saw from the way my agencies had sporadic contact with me, and when they did contact me, it was for really kind of, how do I phrase this now? Roles that you don't really want. So it's like, because you're tall, okay, you can be an alien, or you can be a monster, or we want a freaky sort of person to be in the zoo. You can do that. I saw immediately that in order to be able to break out of that kind of thing, I needed to train and learn how to bring out a number of different elements of my personality to the screen. I wanted to show myself as a multifaceted, intelligent person. Typically, when it comes to roles of tall people, we're dumb, we're klutzy, you know, we're the person that you don't really want anything to do with, you know what I mean? That's typically the roles that I have for tall people. And I knew that if I wanted anything that was intelligent, I was going to have to learn to train, but I was also going to have to look at going another route as well. I'll explain that later. When it comes to roles, and when it comes to typecasting in Hollywood, it's notorious for it. Whether it's Hollywood or just the film industry or television industry as a whole, it's notorious for it. If you are anything other than, quote unquote, like what they consider to be the norm, which is typically petite, Caucasian, with blonde or brunette hair, certain figure, then you're an outlier. And they typically write trope roles for such individuals, like the chubby friend, which is one that's never loved. They never succeed in love, and if they do, it's such a like, oh my gosh, sort of thing. This chubby person's in love, or someone loves this chubby person. My gosh, what is that? That's a really new concept. You know what I mean? They're klutzy, they're insecure, they're not like other people. Do you know what I'm saying? That's how they pitch those roles. That's how they write that particular role for a person who is of a slightly larger size. Do you know what I mean? That's just the way the film industry is. And I realized very early on that the film industry, interestingly enough, is the least imaginative and the least creative of all, which I cannot understand. When I look at all of the films that have been produced over the years, somebody somewhere has a really fantastical mindset. But when it comes to people who aren't what they have told themselves is the norm, they simply don't know what to do with you apart from to apply a trope to you and give you a trope role to try and play, which I personally don't have much time for, really. So when I was on the set for Men in Black? No, it was for The Crimes of Grindelwald. Or what's that? Yeah, The Crimes of Grindelwald. And they didn't tell me what it was for. They didn't tell what the role was. Just, oh, you'll be playing like a prisoner. I thought, ooh, really cool. Then I turned up. No, I was going to be playing a prisoner in an asylum. Why? Because I'm tall. And tall in this particular piece meant freaky. You know, don't know how to act. I'm a lunatic foaming at the mouth. And you had other people who looked other than. Do you know what I mean? You had a guy who's really big with missing teeth. A guy had tattoos all over his face. I thought, so they lumped us all together in the freak scene, right? And they shot that thing almost 100 times, and in the end you couldn't even see any of our faces the way they had ended up editing it, because they couldn't disguise the the ropes or the cordons that the stunt double was using to fly up out of the prison. They couldn't disguise it. So in the end, they had to do it in a way that the stunt double's face, Johnny Depp's face was superimposed on stunt double's face, and you couldn't see the strings. So because you couldn't see the strings, you couldn't see our faces either, basically, which was a complete waste of time. But it taught me a lot about how they perceive people who are different, how they perceive people who, well, let me just take that back. Not different, just not what they consider to be the norm. I remember when I'd apply for all of these different background extra roles or roles in commercials, and I was never getting them. It was just really strange. Like I remember there's one role for, what was it? They wanted someone to be a neighbour, right? And I applied for it and I didn't get it. And I asked, like, what was the reason why? Because they didn't mention height, gender, age, or race. So why had I not been considered for it? And I said, well, I think maybe it's because of the height thing, which we want to put you forward for tall roles. I was like, well, where is it you think tall people live? Narnia? Somewhere over the rainbow? I mean, it's crazy to me, So basically, if you're only going to be putting me forward for tall roles, quote unquote, these roles seldom come about. And even if I do go for them, I seldom get them. So basically, if I'm waiting on these people to get me roles, I'm not going to get very much, if anything at all, in the year. So that would kind of kill my dream or my desire to become an actress, because there's work is so few and far between. And I was thinking of, who was I thinking of the other day? I was thinking of Lawrence Fishburne the other day. Two people I was thinking of, Lawrence Fishburne and Jeffrey Owens. Lawrence Fishburne, this was after his stellar role in What's Love Got to Do With It as Ike Turner, and after his stellar role as Morpheus in The Matrix. After all of that had died down, they were still offering him like these basic roles like Thug Number 1 or Hoodie Number 2. After he had these amazing roles, these groundbreaking roles that he had performed. And I couldn't understand what that was about, neither could he. And there's other people also, Oscar winners, people who've been in the industry for a long, long time, getting these rubbish roles that were just totally beneath them. And I was thinking, what's going on? I started to research a little bit into their background, and I saw what was missing. Again, I'll touch upon that just shortly. Another person is Jeffrey Owens. He was, in 2018, working in Trader Joe's, right? And someone took a picture of him. For those of you who don't know who Jeffrey Owens is, he played the love interest of Sandra Huxtable in The Cosby Show, and he's like a recurring guest. And he had a recurring role for many, many years. But then after that stopped, he didn't get as many roles. I was looking at his biography the other day. Sometimes he got a role in 1 year, and then 2 years went by before he got another role. So obviously, in between times, he's got to work. And he's working at Trader Joe's, and someone recognised him, took a picture of him, trying to job shame him to say, look how far he's fallen. But thankfully, it backfired. And Tyler Perry reached out to him and gave him a role in one of his shows. And the work has picked up, but he isn't getting as much work as he did when he was starring The Cosby Show. You could even be an Oscar winner and not get another role for another 2 or 3 years. So in between times, what you're going to do. But again, I looked at all of these people and I saw something that was missing. If you are somebody who is deemed to be different, you have to have a second string to your bow. And I'd certainly say that women of colour and people of colour, we need to be writing our own scripts and we need to be writing our own stuff. If there is something about you that makes you different, like for example, we're both very tall, and we're not going to get those roles which show us as a love interest or show us as, I don't know, a doctor or a detective or something, feminine or just something that's normal. We're not going to be seen in those kind of roles. The only way we're going to get the opportunity to show what we can do is if we write those scripts ourselves. And I'm under no illusions or delusions with Hollywood and with the entertainment industry. Nobody is right now sitting down writing an intelligent part for me to play. It's just a fact, they are not. If I want to demonstrate all the things I'm being shown and taught at my acting school, I'm going to have to create those roles for myself, which is absolutely fine. And that's what I am doing. Going into the industry, I'm going into the industry with my eyes wide open. And I'd encourage anybody looking to go into the television or film industry, you need to have a second string to your bow. I would say writing, because that way you can write the kind of stories that you want to see and can write yourself parts that you'd be proud to play. You can be a producer. You can be a director. Do you know what I mean? And all of these things will help give your career longevity. If you're just going to be an actor, you're looking at really a very short career, because not everybody can be in the business for 20 and so years doing acting. It doesn't really go like that. You have to have a second string to your bow, so that if these roles dry up, you can get back to writing and write something for yourself. You can go back to directing, you can go back to producing. Do you know what I'm saying? And you're still within the field that you love, and you can still be credited for these things, and people can still see your handiwork. You've still got your hands in the game, right? Then I think of Issa Rae, I think of Tyler Perry, and I think of Marlon Wayans. These three are very prolific because they are writers. They give themselves work all the time. People give Tyler Perry a hard time about his work. I can see where they're coming from. Some of his scripts are very flimsy, and he would definitely benefit from having a writer's room. He would definitely benefit from having maybe 4 people in there who can really help round out and flesh out a lot of the writing that he does. He would definitely benefit from that. But so far, he's not hearing that, but whatever. He's a billionaire now. He's been acting in industry for however long. He's created his own studios, so the man isn't hurting in any way, shape or form. Even though we might not agree with the stuff that he's done, it has not hurt him any, right? Because there's people who do watch his stuff. There's people who are his fans, will go to anything that he's doing. But he had to create a lane for himself. One of the first people I remember hearing say that was Issa Rae back in 2014, when she created The Misadventures of Awkward Black Girl. The reason she did so was because she wanted to be an actress, and people were not sending her scripts. She was not getting anything she was going forward for. She was not being even considered for roles. You know what I'm saying? Now, time's going past, and then she had to ask herself, and challenge herself. If I really want to do this, the reality is no one is writing a part for someone that looks like me. So I have got to write my own scripts. Had she not done that, we wouldn't have known her name up until today. We wouldn't have heard of her, but she had to create a lane for herself. And she started off on YouTube. And now is the best time to be alive if you want to go into the entertainment industry. Why do I say that? Back in maybe like 30 or whatever years ago, you had to go one path. You couldn't necessarily have a hand in writing scripts yourself and getting yourself on TV. You couldn't do that. Now you have YouTube. All you need to set yourself up a YouTube account. You can film a whole webisode, you know what I mean, and put your craft out there. There's all these different streaming services, Netflix, Hulu, do you know what I'm saying? There's a number of different avenues for you to go, for you to be able to show your skill and show your talent, and to be able to get yourself some work. It doesn't have to be the traditional route anymore. You can have such a big hand in shaping your career. That's what's so beautiful. You don't have to stand back and wait for people to send you scripts. You can get the scripts yourself. You can do all of this yourself. And then with what Issa Rae did, her stuff was so good, and she built up a cult following. Pharrell Williams saw it. They started to put her stuff on his YouTube page, so she'd have a wider audience to show her stuff to. Then before you know it, she's in talks with Harpo first of all, then this, then that, then HBO. You know, it can happen, and she's building an empire for herself. This is just in 6 short years. I first started seeing her in 2014, and she was still in the midst of filming Awkward Black Girl. So her rise, I've been watching it from 2014 up until now, it's at least 6 short years. But she had to take hold of her career for herself. And I'm sure as people do things like that, it gives you even more confidence. I'll definitely say to you, consider having a second string to your bow. Definitely, definitely, definitely. As a woman of colour, as a tall woman, definitely get a second string to your bow. Whether it's writing, directing or producing. Something else other than just act, because they're really not checking for tall black women or anyone that is considered to be different other than the norm. They really are not looking for parts for people like that. I even think of Marilyn Monroe. Now you'd think that she'd be the archetypal movie star, but even she was frustrated with the roles that she was getting, because like she was forced into the blonde bimbo role rather. But she was apparently highly intelligent. She's a very intelligent woman, and she kept on wanting to be given roles that reflected that. But no, as long as we're marketing you, as long as we're the ones paying for you, you will do what we want you to do. And the blonde bimbo thing is just fine. She's just going to have to suck it up and deal. Majorly frustrating for her. I know there's a number of other people that are very frustrated in the roles that they've been given because that's not who they are. They're not being given the opportunity to really show their craft and show their depth as an actor, you know? And that's why some people drop out. Thousands leave the industry every single year, oftentimes because they can't find work because the role they've been pigeonholed into, there's no scripts for that. Or they just get so disillusioned with the whole thing, you think, you know, forget it, let me just go and get a regular job. And it's such a shame because there's some very talented people leaving the industry, but that doesn't have to be our story. So my thing to you is definitely get a second string job. I would definitely say writing. So my confidence comes from knowing that, well, my confidence as far as acting is concerned has come from all of the research I've done, all of the things I've seen, the interviews I've watched, the things that people have said, the things I've listened to, knowing that I am not going into this with my eyes closed. I am very aware and cognizant of how the industry is and how I need to position myself so I don't get flattened by it, so I don't get disillusioned and burnt out by it, and so I can have a relatively long career in something I'm quite passionate about. So that's where my confidence comes from with that, right? I'm not waiting for anybody to hand me anything. I know it's not going to happen. And I don't say that with a bar humbug kind of attitude. It's just what it is. It's just a reality at the moment. But I'm excited. I'm excited about what the future holds because of what are the steps I'm taking to make sure I am in the industry for the long haul. Yeah, I don't care about awards. I don't care about anything like that. I just want to be able to have the opportunity to put onto the screen the craft that I love. I want to be able to challenge myself with different characters and different roles and all that. I love that. When we act and when we're in class and doing things, I love it. It really makes me feel alive, and I get inspired by how other people have done things. I never tire of it. I really don't tire of it. So I know that this is what I want to do. So I'm doing everything that I can right here, right now to position myself so when after this year is done, I know what I'm going to be doing. But I say put yourself in the driver's seat. You want to be confident? Put the pen in your hand, or whatever it is you want to do. Put yourself in the driver's seat so you know that you have a hand in where your career is going. And this is the perfect time. There's so many avenues that you can use to really kind of show your craft or hone your craft. Take advantage of all of it. And you'll see. Don't let the fact that these people aren't putting you forward for these kind of roles. You know, there's loads of roles. Create a role for yourself. So that's my advice. That's what I want to say about courage in acting. I hope that's helpful to you. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to share and subscribe. If you have subscribed, could you double check to make sure you still are subscribed? Because sometimes these funny things happen with YouTube and people find themselves unsubscribed. So subscribe and hit the notification bell so you always know when I upload something new. That's it from me. I'll see you again next week. If there are any other topics that you'd like me to talk about, please let me know in the comments below. I will definitely speak about courage and confidence in life. But if there's anything else you want me to talk about, please let me know and I'll consider those as well. That's everything from me. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful weekend. Take care. Bye-bye.